Hello everyone, it's Kitty. Welcome back to my spooktacular series of Star Stable documentaries, where we are calling out the most terrifying elements of Star Stable history. Today, we are focusing on some of the whispers in the wind from the past 12 years. Rumors, if you will. When you have an online game with over 1 million players, there are bound to be some myths going around at some point. I'd like to bring up some of my favorite myths that I lived through on Star Stable Online that, looking back on now, seem pretty ridiculous, but I'm going to try to put myself back in the place of a terrified little 10-year-old me. Why don't you join me on this spine-chilling nostalgia trip? It was the year 2015. Many unexpected changes were being made to the game thanks to Star Stable's newfound freedom of becoming its own entity. We were finally seeing horses with more lifelike animations and realistic textures like the American quarter horse. Our beloved Morland stables was the first in line to get a revamp, followed by many new quests in the area, like Tan's surprise birthday party and the sister dilemma between Julie and Mandy. These quests definitely helped me get used to the refreshed environment of Morland stables. Many characters received an update too, like Loretta, Jenna, and Justin Morland. Speaking of Justin, around May of 2015, the community were going about their day, probably completing daily chores or training in Morland, until they noticed something unusual. Morland is known for being the beginning of everyone's journey into Star Stable. Therefore, a lot of new players roam around there. But there was one new player there that day that was unlike all the others. This player did not have the traditional first or last name that you are able to select from when creating your character. What's even more strange is that they happen to inherit the name of one of the most well-known NPCs, Justin Morland. That's right, the non-player character Justin Morland had come to life. The only distinguishable feature about him was the name. The character and horse were made with the same options we all had when we first created our accounts. Justin would stand amidst the Morland Square, communicating in Say Chat about how great Dark Core is and how he has come to recruit players to join Dark Core, which aligned with the lore at the time. This was very in character. If you were to talk to him, he would respond. He was aware of the presence he had caused. This phenomenon went on for a couple of weeks. It was unlike anything the community had ever seen before, which spawned the rumor that Justin Morland could be a potential hacker. Some players started to instill the fear into the community, claiming that if you add Justin Morland onto your friends list, you will get your account hacked. This rumor spread like wildfire. Players quickly took to adding Justin Morland onto their ignore list, so that the possibility of them waking up one day and all of their clothes, horses, and friends being gone would not occur. Since a majority of the community is made up of adolescent children, they had no choice but to believe that this rumor was true. The truth was, the person behind the Justin Morland account was not a hacker. They were not dangerous in any way. It was simply an experimental stunt orchestrated by the company to see how the community would react to implementing some sort of live role-playing. Star Stable sent an employee to log on this Justin Morland account and act as if they were the real Justin Morland. Hence the comments about Dark Core, because at that point in the story, he had still been brainwashed and held captive at the headquarters. This experiment was completely out of the blue, but it was 2015, and Star Stable was trying all sorts of new things. If you are familiar with how international web domains work, you know that each country has their own unique way of linking to websites. In England, it is co.uk. In Germany, it is .de. And in Sweden, it is .se. Naturally, when you want to visit a website, you use what TLD you are most familiar with. This was the case for players in Star Stable's native country of Sweden. In 2012, they would use starstable.se to visit their favorite video games website. Although, instead of directing them to a horse game full of adventure, they would be greeted with an ominous message pasted on a completely white background. Star Stable, efter 5 år, stänger vi verksamheten, which roughly translates to, Star Stable, after 5 years, we will close the business. This led to a widespread rumor in the early Swedish community that Star Stable will be shutting down in 2017. The panic left a lasting impact on the Swedish community, until they came to the conclusion that the domain starstable.se was once owned by a Western writing school in Sweden. It would seem as if the cryptic message was never about the game Star Stable Online, and eventually, the company did buy the rights to the domain starstable.se. So every time you would type it into your web browser, it would redirect you to the horse game we all know and love. I wanted to include this next urban legend because this was a particularly chaotic point in my Star Stable career, and I'd love to know if there are any other players who can share this memory with me. An interesting phenomenon began to occur on the North American server Nightstar in early 2016. A group of, what I presume, friends began to create brand new Star Stable accounts, all with the last name Potato Watcher. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because it is difficult to find proof of their actions, as this was 6 to 7 years ago, and I find it hard to comb through all of the false, exaggerated allegations. Allegedly, the Potato Watchers were hackers. Some said they would lure kids into giving them their account information. There were multiple victims of their attack, and word got out quickly to avoid anyone with the last name Potato Watcher at all costs. They were easily identified by their surname, as well as their horse name would always begin with Walrus. The Potato Watchers were always low-leveled, non-Star Rider players who roamed around Morland, which motivated the community to literally move out of Morland and steer clear of even stepping in the vicinity. The impact of the Potato Watchers lasted many months. More people started to come out and say that they had been a victim of their attacks. This became such a widespread conspiracy that even other players began to create accounts with the surname just to troll people, with no intention of targeting people's accounts. The reason I believe the Potato Watchers became such a huge phenomenon is that unlike every other instance of people falling victim to hacking, the Potato Watchers worked in an organized group, making sure that they were known by their last name and other characteristics, such as their horses' names. Eventually, after an eventful year, the potato watchers started to disappear, one by one, never to be seen again. And that is a wrap. I hope you all enjoyed reminiscing with me. I tried to include the most memorable urban legends from my Star Stable past. I've noticed that most of these urban legends stem from the fear of hacking, which is interesting. And I'm so sorry to those who are watching this documentary who have fallen victim to hacking in Star Stable. I want to hear from you watching. I love reading about myths that have spawned in your SSO community. Feel free to leave a comment explaining the craziest urban legends you have witnessed. I post content revolving around Star Stable history and nostalgia nearly every week. And if you want to stay in the loop, please consider subscribing. We are on a journey to 3,000. Once the goal has been reached, it is time the host behind these documentaries be unveiled. If you need a daily nostalgia fix, my Instagram is the destination for you. My username is kittispiderweb on Instagram. And may you have a very happy Halloween, my ghouls. This has been Kitty Spiderweb, signing out.